Giving you the real from A to Z surrounding the Dallas Cowboys. News, updates, rumors, transactions, takes, and more. So strap up, Cowboys Nation, and start your day off with A to Z Sports. Live with Will Steele.
3, 2, 1.
Here we go. We got a lion and a cheetah, huh? Good morning, good people, on this good Friday. Welcome to A to Z Sports Live, presented by Texas Family Fitness, streaming live on YouTube, Facebook, and Twitter. I am your host, Will Skywalker Steele. Yes, indeed, it is a good Friday, and today I've got my guy, my bro, my brethren, Foots the King, joining me in a bit. I'm going to dive into his watch list down at the Senior Bowl in Mobile, Alabama. Okay, it is the Senior Bowl week. It is Senior Bowl weekend, and the importance of the Senior Bowl in Dallas is very evident if you really dive in and look. And we'll talk a little bit about that and obviously take a look at some players that the Dallas Cowboys should keep their eyes on. But before we do that, in the roundup, we got some NFL news. The Cowboys made an addition to an important position, and kind of some sombering, I should say, news from a Dallas Cowboys insider that could have a massive effect on both sides of the ball. So we'll talk a little bit about that prior to getting my guy Foots up in here. But did you guys watch the skills competition yesterday? I see some people already in here talking a little bit about it. Shout out to my guy Fresh Fade in the building, TC915, Aaron Lewis, D.A. Lee. Who else we got? T. Burleson, Adam Mack, Chuck P, Samuel Rose, Stevie Mack, the Mod God, Alpha Mason, Knock Doom 305. Did y'all check out that skills competition yesterday? Me personally, I think the skills competition is better than the dang on Pro Bowl. And Micah Parsons is the fastest man alive. He toasted Tyreek Hill. Nah, I'm just playing. Tyreek Hill, he wasn't really trying to run. He won like 50%. Yeah, he didn't really try to run, but I don't blame him. But no, seriously though, even though Tyreek won 50%, just throw him off the screen. Did you see how fast the young linebacker was running? I had tweeted on my Twitter, it's going to be a long time before before players are able to run away from Micah Parsons. That dude's a freak. It's an absolute freak. So Micah Parsons wins the fastest man competition, and then Trayvon Diggs beats his brother Stephon Diggs in the catch competition. He did this little flip, spin-a-rooney type thing off the springboard there, and it was pretty cool, pretty cool catch. So Micah and Trayvon take home some hardware down at the skills competition. Man, that looked fun too. That just the quarterback where they were throwing it at the spots with the corners. I thought that was pretty cool with the DBs. Just looked like a fun time to be down there. And I did say the actual game should be played with young bucks. Our guys are in there now. I'm like, I don't know if I really want to see them in there, injuries and things like that. So I hope the game is more of a two-hand touch. I wish they just get rid of it. It's not worth it anymore. It's not worth it. The skills competition to me is better than the actual game. So if there's no real incentive to play that game, then get rid of it and just do these things. But shout out to Micah Parsons and shout out to Trayvon Diggs. All right, y'all, let me jump right into the roundup, and then coming out, I should have Foots joining us, and we can kind of talk about the Senior Bowl situation here, guys to watch for, and then we'll end the show a little later with the Fan Friday mailbag presented by Freeman Mazda. All right, let's do it.
It's time! It's time! It's time! It's time! It's time! It is time for.
It's time for the morning roundup. Round 'em up, boys.
Yes, indeed. This is the Morning Roundup presented by Texas Family Fitness. Strive for progress, not perfection. Fitness goals are not accomplished with one workout. Progress towards your goals with Texas Family Fitness, a solution for your fitness goals. Check out any of the 9 locations if you are in the DFW area. And if you do check them out today, be careful. It's pretty bad out there with the roads. Or visit TexasFamilyFitness.com. Some NFL news around the league. Doug Peterson was hired by the Jacksonville Jaguars after Byron Leftwich pulled out. I think there was a disagreement on the front office aspect, on kind of a power struggle with the Jaguars. You know, doesn't surprise me. That's a poverty franchise as well. But I think Doug Peterson, Dougie P, I think he's a good coach, man. I hate the fact that he won a Super Bowl with the Philadelphia Eagles. But I do like Doug Peterson, and he comes from a tree that I think that team should pluck from. The Andy Reid tree. Eric Bieniemy, hello. But the Andy Reid tree, I've always, I said this before on Twitter. McVay, Shanahan, Andy Reid, I guess Zach Taylor now, but those guys, the LaFleur's, those guys, give me somebody from that tree to help run my offense or help bring some new, fresh ideas into my organization. I think Doug Peterson did a solid job in Philly. I think he got ran out, and it wasn't his fault. But hey, it helped Cowboys. I think the Eagles are in a worse place now because Doug Peterson's not there. I know he had his struggles or whatever, but I personally think it's a good coach. And then when you go look into the NFC East news, unfortunately, Cowboys Nation, the Giants are doing some good things. The Giants are expected to hire Chiefs quarterback coach Mike Kafka. He's one of those understudies that we've talked about over the last few years here on this channel. Again, a Andy Reid understudy. Andy Reid tree. I think he also was under Doug Peterson in Philly, I think, at one point. But nonetheless, they hired Chiefs quarterback coach Mike Kafka to be their offensive coordinator, or expected to. They also hired Brian DeBall, right? They also made a good move with the general manager. I hate the Giants, but they're doing good things to get better. That's what it's about. That's what it's about. And they're not sticking to just one thing. Kafka is a completely different, DeBall is a completely different offensive philosophy and thinking and mindset than one Jason freaking Garrett. And the head coach is completely different than the special teams guy that makes you run laps because you're being bad at practice. So they're doing things differently, and I salute them. I'm going to wash my mouth out. The Cowboys have added a new kicker, Chris Nagar, to a futures deal. He's from down the street here at SMU and was both a kicker and a punter. It's kind of interesting because we know the roller coaster we were on with Greg the Leg, and Bones and McCarthy kept, giving us excuses and whatnot and putting it off to the end of the season where we start hearing about, well, maybe the surgery was an issue, or maybe he has the yips and this and that. Bottom line, Greg the Leg was very inconsistent. I will not do that, D.A. Lee. That's why I just kept it moving. You should see the jokes on Twitter with that kicker. It's so weird with him because Greg in the fourth quarter, go ahead to tie, all that good stuff, he was fine. But a lot of the times, the kicks earlier in the game cost the Dallas Cowboys later. And if you look at the cap, the Cowboys will save $2.5 million, roughly $2.5 million on the cap if they cut Greg the Leg, which they should cut Greg the Leg, and move on and try to find a different kicker. Check out Mauricio Rodriguez's article on A2ZSportsDallas.com. He talks about maybe the Cowboys should go the Cincinnati Bengals route and draft a kicker, huh? How about that? And then finally, I got to show you this before we move on, man. Bobby Belt, Dallas Cowboys insider, believes both Amari Cooper and DeMarcus Lawrence could be cap casualties. Take a look at this tweet. Zach Walchuk, I believe, it says Bobby Belt is telling us he expects Tank and Amari to likely be cap casualties this offseason. Bobby follows it up and says, feels like this is where things are heading. Steven sounded like he was laying the foundation for it this week. And we say that a couple days ago. We talked about he's setting us up for the okie doke. And a number of people connected to the decisions are anticipating it to come to fruition. Both players are still stars and wouldn't be unemployed for very long. Stephen Jones doesn't have anyone else to blame but Stephen Jones if this happens. If they cut 2 of their, 6, 7 best players on the team because cap, they have no one else to blame but themselves. When you pay your running back 2 years prior than you needed to, when you pay a linebacker that had a ridiculous foot injury 2 years prior than you needed to, when you wait to extend your freaking quarterback and pay those guys prior to him, this is what happens. When you're cheap as well as stubborn and you get taken to the woodshed in negotiations, this is what happens. Don't blame Amari Cooper. Don't blame DeMarcus Lawrence. Blame Stephen Jones. I think it's time to admit, yes, just because he's cheap with contracts and can move money around doesn't mean he's good at his job. He's not. He's not. And this is nothing but Stephen Jones' fault if we lose 2 of our best players cause cap. It's frustrating, man. And it's honestly, it's an entirely different show that we can have about it, but it is extremely frustrating because Bobby Belt's a reliable guy. He's not saying it's definitely going to happen, but it sounds like, according to his sources, this is a very high possibility. Very high possibility. All right, that's the morning roundup presented by Texas Family Fitness. Solution for your fitness goals. I think we got my guy, Foots the King, in the building. Let me make sure I can bring you in. Foots, you there? We got him, ladies and gentlemen. My boy Foots, what's going on, man? How you feeling? I know I don't want to get too much of your takes on the Amari Cooper D-Law thing, but just a quick little, just give me a quick little something. How you feel if we cut DeMarcus Lawrence and Amari Cooper, bro?
Scott, you cover this team better than anybody I know.
Oh, listen, man, listen.
You do. I'm always giving you flowers, man. I'm big on publicly showing love. Here's the truth, though. You're right, man. And I never thought of it until, some of this Flores stuff came out. But some of these front offices do things backwards, including the Cowboys. And now we're starting to see where we were kind of behind and did things wrong. You never should have paid your running back before your quarterback.
No.
I've been thinking of scenarios where I'm trying to draft a running back this year. It's quite a shame because Amari Cooper, yes, he can still play. And my whole rant to you, we talked pre-show. My whole rant to you was there's no way I'm looking at a DN when I'm looking at DeMarcus Lawrence still give me great reps. Not good reps,
right.
Great reps. And if you lose both of those guys, that's a shame.
Tell me how you get better losing Amari Cooper and DeMarcus Lawrence. Tell me. Because you're not going to go replace him in free agency. And you know what? Again, I'm probably going to open up a whole entire can, Foots, and I don't want to waste your time that we got you here about the Senior Bowl on stuff that we'll probably cover during the next week, beginning of the week. But it's just frustrating.
But it is. I was about to say, Scott, it's frustrating, homie, and you're not wrong in your thoughts because everybody's screaming best player available. Well, here's my thoughts. You can say that, and that's what you want to tell fans, but this team is not – we're not best player available. We're going to win the East again next year, so we have to be very intentional in the pieces that we need to now compete against the upper echelon teams in the NFC. And so Yeah, so I'm just like, I count on having Amari Cooper and or DeMarcus Lawrence. There's no way that I want to move on. Both of those guys can still play. So
Yes, at a
that's
very
terrible.
high level. It's yeah, but he's setting us up. Foots. He said it a couple days ago. We got some tough decisions we're going to make. You know, cap this, cap that. You know that whole thing he does, man. But let me go ahead and pivot real hard. Maybe next week I get you in here, Foots, and we could talk more about this and about the offseason in general. But let's pivot to what you really love about the offseason, and that's the draft, right? And the draft starts at the Senior Bowl. Every year there's a handful of guys. I say it all the time: the Jeffs, the Foots, the Vach Lombardis that I know that study these guys hardcore. In the last 2 years, Foots, me and you have done a Senior Bowl preview, and I think we did a show where we did the Senior Bowl review, where we looked at some of the guys last year after the Senior Bowl. We know, Foots, that the Cowboys are very, very high on the Senior Bowl. So under Will McClay, they've drafted 18 players that have participated in that weekend. And here are some of the names that are currently still on the roster: Dak Prescott, Zach Martin, La'el Collins, Michael Gallup, Tony Pollard, Ced Wilson, Neville Gallimore, Oso Digizua, Chauncey Golston, Jabril Cox. They're all on the roster from the Senior Bowl. So there's most likely going to be a few guys that we look to bring in, if I'm not mistaken, from this week's game.
Yeah, man. Listen, it's, the Senior Bowl, and I hope that you had me on so we could do a recap because I'm going to really dig in. The Senior Bowl and the Senior Bowl practices, Scott, that's where you got me on the show. I really want to talk about some of the things that I've seen to your audience and just some kind of buyer beware thing. So let's talk about it, man.
Okay, we'll start off with the buyer beware prior to getting into your, I think it was 5 or 6 guys on your watch list. You want to do that?
Yeah, let's go.
Okay. Who should we be worried about? Because there's a lot of names that we're hearing out there. And I know one is Jermaine Johnson. I know that's something you feel real strong about. But who are some guys we should buyer beware at the Senior Bowl right now?
Okay, so let me be careful in saying this because I've always said I never want to be the guy who throws salt on a player's name. Jermaine Johnson can play. He really can. But we have to let the whole process happen before we knee-jerk to one player. We have to watch all the film. We have to take everything into context before we knee-jerk to one player. Jermaine Johnson, Georgia transfer into Florida State, has some really good film. He also does some things that I think that for what this team needs, we already have that, and there's no way that I'm touching that at 24. Now, here's the caveat, okay? We haven't even seen guys like I always mess his name up, David Ojabo from Michigan, real twitched-up player. There's a few other DNs that nobody Cowboys fans haven't even seen. But when I'm watching, the Michigan DNs film, it's against Big Ten tackles, okay? ACC tackle, Big Ten tackle. I'm going to go Big Ten every time, okay? And now, this is not me bashing the player. It's just saying, guys, let's slow down. Let's take it all into context because, when you're bull rushing and when you guys watch these drills, it's really good for interior linemen. It sucks for tackles and for DNs because it's giving false hope because, so he bull rushed this tackle, but there's no play.
You talk about Kennard?
So it's yes. Yeah, so because this is what ends up happening, Sky. You run these drills and people look at Jermaine Johnson run through a tackle, bull rush him, and he's on the ground, and everybody's going crazy. And they're like, "Oh, I want to draft him." But the thing is, football is not that anymore. How many times do we see a quarterback just drop back and he's stationary? No, he's going to roll. There's going to be a play action involved. There's so many things. I don't see much bend with the player. And so again, I'm not knocking him, but I'm saying when I see things on Twitter that say Jermaine Johnson at 24, I'm like, hold on, whoa, slow down.
Yeah, I thought that he started off kind of on day 2, and he's creeping his way up to day 1 now.
He's helped himself for sure, but take it all into a vacuum because again, how's the game being played? I've said this, and this is gonna be my mantra. There's not a DN in this draft better than Michael Parsons, not even close. That can give you what he can give you. So what you need to, and that's not saying that Mike is going to be a full-time DN. But,
Right.
hey, what you need to be looking at is players who can assist Micah to where he can play backer and DN. There's no need for me to just go draft a true DN. He's not going to get enough reps. You still have Dorrance Armstrong who came on. You still have Randy Gregory who came on. You still have Chauncey Golson who's great against the run. There's no need in drafting a DN.
Listen, brother, I'm with you.
Right?
Even if you do get rid of DeMarcus Lawrence, I don't know that I would prioritize DE that high just yet. I can't see it because at 24, it's not like you're getting the best defensive end, right? You're likely getting the third, maybe fourth best one if there is that many first round defensive ends in the draft. That's something I'm not familiar with just yet. But if you do get rid of D-Law, then you have to bring back Randy. And if I bring back Randy, I'm with you. I don't feel the need to jump at 24 for a defensive end. If you don't bring back D-Law or Randy, now you put yourself in an unnecessary hole.
Listen, and that's the facts right there. And I know Dallas will not allow that to happen. Trust me. But I think the way that this team moves in free agency, I'm not drafting a DN, and I'm not saying that Jermaine Johnson can't play. I'm just saying when I say
you're just talking about the position in general.
Absolutely, and I'll give you another example. You know, Penning, the Northern Iowa kid, he had some bad reps, but guess what? We also saw Terrence Steele have some bad reps at the Senior Bowl. Does that mean that Trevor Penning, because he had a few bad reps and he got bull rushed, does that mean he's going to be a bad offensive lineman? Guess what? Terrence Steele got beat a lot by Bradley and I. Terrence Steele, towards the end of the year, was probably our best tackle. So development matters. Plan matters. Getting better matters. And I just think that we cannot knee-jerk, Sky. We cannot knee-jerk. We have to stay the course. So, I you know how passionate I get about the draft because I just want people to know what they're looking at. Hey, if you have a DN and he's a wide 9, and you know this guy, a wide 9, and he's just out there on an island, yeah, he's going to win that rep. He's going to get around the tackle, and this, that, and the third. But most offensive coordinators, if they see a wide 9, they're going to run the ball underneath you. So look at the rep and just put it all in the context as, hey, this is just a rep. It's not the football player in a vacuum, and don't throw a kid away if he has a bad rep at tackle or if he bull rushes a kid and he throws him into the bleachers. Don't think of him as he's the next Lawrence Taylor because he's not. We have the next Lawrence Taylor.
I think what you need to do, if you get intrigued by a video, by a tweet, by a rep, by what you're hearing down at the Senior Bowl, that's fine, but then go watch the film. You know, go watch some games so now you can decide for yourself if what you're seeing at the Senior Bowl is a one-off or if it's him kind of just progressing as the year is going on, if it matches with what you've seen during the season where you got 9, 10, 11, 12 games of actual footage and not 2 repetitions at practice where it's no full-blown hitting, no quarterback back there you can't hit, things like that. So I would say try to match the two. And that's what I think teams should, or not coaches, but fans should do with Jermaine Johnson and Travis Pennings and things like that. Go look at these guys and then make a decision for yourself as opposed to just the Senior Bowl reps.
Absolutely. I think, you know what, Scott, I think for what you do, I think you are the best at that, having a full – you have to have a view and a scope of everything. So I think you do a good job of that because the truth is sometimes as fans we latch on to what we see on Twitter and we just put it out there and it's like, yeah, this is our guy. It's like, hold on, let's slow down. Let's just slow down and let the whole process happen.
I'm leaning on y'all guys. I told you I'm leaning on y'all guys this offseason in regards to this draft, as I do every year, So let's kind of get into your watch list. You got, what is it, 6 guys? 5 or 6 guys?
Yes.
And I love these names that you gave me to take a look at. And let's start off with some offensive linemen, some small school guys, right? The first one I want to get at is Cole Strange out of Chattanooga. About 6'4", runs about 305.
UT Chattanooga.
Yeah, small school guy, 4-year starter, a little older, but he's played a lot of games. He played in 33 games. So what's kind of your take on one Cole Strange?
Man, listen, square. Square and moves people. And he the IQ. He had a rep. Sky, I think it was against one of those highly touted D tackles. I forget his name, He had a rep, and he got beat inside. And they came back and they ran it back, and he immediately short set, got his feet choppy, and was able to stay square, and he stoned him. And if you watch him on film, Sky, he's never on the ground, okay? Never on the ground. And I know it's a small school. He's never on the ground. He's reaching next level. He has center in his background. He's played some guard, and he's physical. Hand placement is money. And I just think that it's time to really look at that position and say, what if we want to run the ball, we need one of these guys. We need one of these guys. And Strange is really impressed me just for the fact that he's never in bad position. He's never lunging. He's never oversetting and has too long feet. For those of you guys who don't know what oversetting means, is you take that lunge and then you're beat inside versus a quicker D tackle. Or when you're playing a guy with power, he can anchor down. So I like Strange.
You think where do you? And I'm gonna ask you this about all the guys. Where do you have him where we are right now? Where do you have him projected to go? Round wise, just around.
I have him as a third round player that could possibly go higher as the process continues to happen.
Okay, yeah. If Dallas doesn't take a guy early at that position, I would definitely not wait too long. I would love to be in that third at the latest fourth round, because I don't think that the Cowboys have the future depth on the roster right now to come in and plug in as a starter. But I think they need to get a plug-and-play starter if they're not going to move Lyle into that guard's position.
Absolutely.
Another small school guy, Foots. Matt, now let me know if I'm saying this right. Well, let's go.
Yep, you're saying it right.
Matt, well, let's go. Tackle out of North Dakota. Now, this dude, man, the first thing that pops out to me is the freaking size. He's 6'7",
huge,
310 pounds, 86 wingspan, 86-inch wingspan. I said, wait, what? Let me go take a little deeper dive into him and look at his tape. He's even bigger on film. He looks bigger than everybody out there. He's one of those get off the bus guys. He's the first one off the bus, matter of fact. But does he have more than just the physical traits to his game, Foots?
I'll tell you, man. I can send you out when we get off. I'll send you some clips.
Yes, please.
You know, the crazy thing about him is the arm length. He knows how to use it. You will not get in his body. So where it was, Penning had a few reps where he just let those guys. Once a DN gets his hands on you and he can control you, you're done. His arm length, you can't get to him. You just can't get to him. It's almost like he's a boxer, just keeping you away with his jab. Okay, and the strange thing about it is, man, he looks like a NBA center.
Yeah,
doesn't have those fat ankles, so he can move.
He's not. Yeah. He's not. It's crazy to say a 6'7", 310-pound person is not big, but I don't know how to explain this. He doesn't look sloppy.
No,
he's lean.
Oh, no.
He's 6'7", and it's like a lean 310. But how is his power though? Because that's kind of what I get worried about with guys that are that tall. You get some guys with leverage that can get under their shoulder pads, and then they struggle with that anchor position. How is his power?
So the power isn't a glaring issue. That the games that I saw, I watched the North Dakota State game. I watched a few other games. Now, obviously, these aren't D1 tackles, DNs. Excuse me, not playing Alabama type right. DNs, but it wasn't an issue to where it's like, oh, wow. And again, you're talking about good feet. And in the drill work, he was one of the tackles. Like, he probably was my favorite tackle, at the Senior Bowl. That's just my opinion. In the arm length, again, it showed up to me. It really did. It really did, Sky. Yeah, oh, yeah, he was one of my favorite because, like you said, he's not a big, burly, with Penning, again, not Penning is going to be a good player. He is. You talking about a mauler, that's his game. But so many times what happens with those big guys is you get a guy like Michael who could just run around him.
Yeah.
You're not running around this kid. He's a good athlete. His sets are really good, and it's natural.
Where you got Matt, well, let's go. Right now projected to go in the draft. Again, there's no pressure here. It's just right now. It's just right now.
I got a 4.3 on him, but the truth is, offensive line playing the NFL sucks. So these guys could get. It's kind of like quarterback. I mean, even with us, wouldn't you like to have some more tackles on this roster, guards on this roster?
Never can have too many.
You never can have too many, so he'll get pushed up, I'm sure.
Before I move on to one of my favorite offensive line prospects down there, let me just ask you real quick about Daniel Falele. Is that how you say it? Falele? This mother sucker here, he's like 7 foot, 400 pounds. What is he a real? Can he really develop in this league? Because I've never seen anybody that huge. I mean, I think it's Trent Brown. Is that the other one, or Orlando Brown, who was drafted a few years ago? Was that big?
Like that,
just a quick draft profile on Daniel Falele.
He's on a lot of teams' radar just because of that size.
Right.
And there's going to be somebody who he's 6'9", he's from Australia. Like, he played at IMG. He's played big time football.
Did he play rugby?
I don't know if he played rugby, but I do know that he's played against top athletes. Being at IMG, that was a powerhouse, and that's a powerhouse high school in Florida. Here's my thing about Falele. There's actually been articles that he's gotten to over 400 pounds at times.
That's not good.
So
we don't need another Collins situation.
Exactly. He ballooned in high school, and they're saying that he was able to get the weight back off. But and that was kind of the issue with Orlando Brown as well. So being that big, again, the difference between him and Waletzko is big, but Waletzko looks like a power forward.
Right.
He's like a KG type power forward. He isn't like a big burly guy. This guy right here is a big burly guy. So
who I was
said,
go ahead.
No, go ahead, Scott.
I was hoping the kid would look like kind of Jordan Mailata. I'm jealous of the Eagles always finding a damn left tackle, but Jordan Mailata's a freaking stud. And I know I think he played some rugby ball. He's an Australian guy. He's 6'8", 6'9", 350-ish. I'm like, well, maybe this could be the next Jordan Mailata. But if he's struggling with his weight, he ain't gonna be no Jordan Mailata.
Yeah, see, and that's just he does have some athleticism. He's not Linderbaum or Evan Neal. He's not. Don't get carried. I don't want people to get carried away. But again, he's a second round. He'll go in the second round for sure.
Okay. Wow.
He's DJ has him. Daniel Jones has. I mean, Daniel Jeremiah has him in his top 50. I think Dane has him in it. Like, I think he's in his top 100 as well. And he hasn't put it out, but I've spoken to Dane about some of these things off the record. So the truth is he's a good player, but there are concerns.
Okay.
The league is different, man. The league is different. You know that, bro.
For sure. Now let me get into one of my favorite players down there, offensive lineman. That's a Boston College guard center, Zion Johnson, who for me, 6'3", 314 pounds. When I first got into the O-line film, and y'all probably, why we start with O-line? I've over the years, I've just loved watching offensive linemen, especially because we need them now. But Green and Kennard had caught my eyes first, but Zion Johnson quickly became my favorite guard of that trio. He just seems to flow a little better. And I'm not saying that Green and Kennard are not good. I'm just saying he's my favorite right now because I just like how he moves. He moves very well, but he also has the similar strength as those guys. Kennard's he's just a house. But I like Zion, man. So what's your draft profile on Zion Johnson, the guard out of Boston College?
I believe in my first Cowboys mock I gave us Zion. And the truth is, Green's going to get pushed up. He's a mid-first rounder. Zion Johnson, if he's sitting on the board right now today, I would draft him because he has the attitude that you're talking about. He's smoother. He can play center and guard well. And you asked me earlier to put a price on where I would take these guys. I'm taking this guy, and I'm not thinking twice about it because he instantly upgrades a need. And he would probably be BPA for me. It's not sexy, but here's a guy who you see him staying after the Senior Bowl working snaps. He's always done it at Boston College. They put him – and the thing I liked about BC is, here's a team that was running triple option at times. They do a lot of pin and pull, and I'm sure you've seen on film. He's able to get to those linebackers, and he's finishing them.
It's hard for me to see what he can't do. But he's definitely a guy that I think can fit in a versatile run scheme. In the mailbag segment later, we'll talk about that. But the type of run scheme I want, give me a Zion Johnson.
Oh, listen, hello, and that's what I'm saying. This is now we're talking about attitude. Now we're talking about guy because even like with Terrence Steele, I think his best trait is he loves to run block.
Yep.
Though, I'm telling
and
you,
he's
man.
and he has. I think he might be outside of Tyron Smith when he's healthy, our most fluid tackle. I don't think that's even a hard take there. Terrence Steele is our most fluid tackle. You get a guy like Zion, you get a guy like Terrence Steele. I think now you're starting to get that younger athleticism, that youth back into the offensive line.
Dude, totally. And you know the truth is this: with offensive linemen, this is the lovely thing about the draft. Connor Williams, I love the guy. He never wanted to be a guard. He just didn't want to. And when I say that, I mean he's just not a guard. Those guys are born guards.
Right.
You have to have a lunch pail mentality to be a guard in the NFL. If you don't have it, if you're not built for it, Connor Williams to me was always a tackle.
Yeah.
This team just botched it, but he's a tackle. This kid is an interior lineman. Like you said, not that big. That's okay. He's not like huge, standing tall, but he loves playing.
He's big enough.
You can tell by the way he plays. Yeah, you can tell by the way he plays. So, yeah, you watch his film, you watch the Clemson game, you go watch the Florida State game. The dude is, from this year and last year, he's clean, man. He's definitely one of my favorite players in this draft.
Yeah,
for sure.
You're right. It's so different playing what we call the phone inside a phone booth as opposed to in space. And we all knew that Connor Williams was a space guy. He was a tackle. He didn't have the arm length, boo-hoo, whatever. But he wasn't a phone booth guy, and he got exposed throughout his career. I mean, listen, I applaud him for taking on, the challenge and doing the best he could do. But they might have derailed his career in the sense of being able to play for 10, 15 years as a tackle. I don't know if he's going to last that long as a guard in the league, unless he gets into the right system, I guess. Maybe that'll help him. But between Zion and Kenyon Green and then Kennard, I think if you're looking for offensive line, specifically guard, you got a real shot at getting a young one to bring in here at 24, if that's where you want to go.
It's where you have to go, Sky. Again, Dallas we're going to be, even what Philly does in this draft, you got to look at the landscape of your division first, take care of home first. Dallas will have enough to win this division, period. We got to look at what's giving us issues when we play upper echelon teams in the NFC.
Facts.
Rams, Packers, San Fran. Okay, D-line. San Fran able to get pressure with Ford. A lot of pressure in Dak's face. These are the things that you can't just say, let's go draft another receiver. That's fine. But, I mean, now we're playing a dangerous game here because windows are starting to close on some of these players. So give me a guard and let's go play football.
I wouldn't be mad at it at all. Now, obviously, free agency is going to play a factor, but if we go off a history of free agency, it's not like whatever the Cowboys do in free agency is going to affect the draft. They don't operate in that way. Let's get back to the small school guys, and this dude here is one of the most interesting players that I've kind of so far looked at. Obviously, I haven't seen everybody in the dang on draft, but Troy Anderson, Mr. Do-It-All at Montana State. It's hard to just label him one thing, but he's obviously coming in the NFL as a linebacker. But check out this nugget, man. Troy Anderson, 6'3", 242-pound, linebacker, running back, quarterback out of Montana State. This is not a typo, guys. He ran for 2,260 yards in college. He was first-team All-Big Sky as a quarterback in 2018. And last year, he was All-Big Sky Defensive Player of the Year at linebacker. What?
Yep, switched his last year. Switched out of nowhere like, hey, we think you can get drafted as a backer. Was the best football player on that Montana State team, the team that plays, teams like North Dakota State, so they play good football. They are extremely physical and are extremely well coached. Here's the thing about Troy Anderson that you got to look at. The ability to play in space is something that you can't take for granted. The league is moving away from thumpers, and so while you do need guys that can fill and diagnose, you better have somebody in the middle of your defense. That's the only other position group that I would touch in the first round is backer. You better have somebody in the middle of your defense who could move and play sideline to sideline. This kid can do it.
And that's the thing. I think Dan Quinn has an obvious blueprint to the type of linebackers he likes. If it's not in the stature, which is about the 6 foot to 6'3", between 220 and 230, if you go beyond that, then you start talking about your athleticism. Troy Anderson doesn't fit under that 6 foot 6'3", 230 pound, 220 pound stature, but he does with his athleticism. What I see a lot when you look up his traits, athleticism, space player, right? Swiss Army knife, a guy that can move well, sideline to sideline type of guy. That is exactly what Dan Quinn looks for among his linebackers. Where do you have Troy, though? Is this a day 3 type pick? Because he, 1 year at the position, played all over the place, small school. I feel like this could possibly be a day 3 guy.
Sky, I'm gonna tell you this, and I want you to save this because we're gonna go back in these archives. If he runs sub 4.5, which I'm hearing that he was the fastest player. Now this is out of the skill guys, everybody at my fantasy. He was the fastest player there at that size. If he runs sub 4.5, if he runs below a 4.6, he's going to be a day 1, day 2 pick. Watch our tape. His tape.
Day 1?
Listen. I'm gonna tell you something. His film at the Senior Bowl, he's had a few plays where that speed. If you guys follow Dane Brugel on Twitter,
yeah, he loves him.
Watch
he
him
loves him.
I forget. Oh yeah, if you go watch him against that tight end, if you really just watch how he's able to close that gap in coverage, because that's what the NFL is now.
Right.
You see what I'm saying? And he's able to close that gap. If he puts that speed on film, you can forget it. I'm telling you, if he puts a number to that speed with these stopwatch guys, these stopwatch scouts, you can forget it.
You know what else makes it very interesting about him, pairing him in a Dan Quinn defense? The fact that he played quarterback and running back could help tremendously in him diagnosing, right? Not just in the passing game, but in the run game as well. So he could be a very intriguing project, mold of clay that you can mold him how you want. But I think you can't replace the football IQ that he has because he played the quarterback position, because he played the running back position. Best believe the fact that Micah played running back at a high level helps him. He talks about that a lot. Best believe the fact that Cedric Wilson played quarterback helps him. Randall Cobb played quarterback helps him. The fact that Trevin Diggs played receiver helps him. And Troy Anderson played running back and quarterback in college. We're not talking about just high school, in college. So he could be very interesting and intriguing to have on this roster if you pair him with Jabril Cox and Micah Parsons. That trio will give you exactly the type of trio that Dan Quinn would love on any given year.
And Scott, people will say, I see one in the comments, hey, day 1, no way. Hey, man, I had Leighton Vander Esch as a third-round player when the draft process started.
And by the end, he was in round 1.
He was in round 1. So, it's very – you got to be careful of, just thinking that just because it's early on in the process. And if you go through the process, I'm telling you, if he goes to the combine, you guys save this, Sky. If he goes to the combine and blows it out of the water and looks better than those other athletes, he's going day 1. You can forget it. I'm telling you what I know. Day 1, day 2 at the latest. He won't last to the third round because the traits are there.
Yeah, and I think it was not Bucky. It might have been Bucky though. We talked about this is why you get trait guys, where it was some players making plays in the postseason that had upside, crazy traits, and they were molded with good coaching. And I think you pair a guy like him with Dan Quinn. That's the beautiful thing about this. If you draft anybody in this draft with traits, you feel confident that Dan Quinn can get the best out of them.
Absolutely.
All right, let's move forward to the tight end position. And the first one I'm going to start – actually, this you gave me 2 tight ends to look at. I already knew about Jeremy Rucker, but the other one we'll get to. I actually like the other one better. But Jeremy Rucker, tight end out of Ohio State, very bold decision going to Ohio State. They don't utilize their tight ends at all. He was a hot name coming into this Senior Bowl, but I feel like people wanted to see more. Very, very small sample size. But what does he present as a next level tight end, as an NFL tight end. 6'5", 250. What do you like about Jeremy, and what don't you like?
Simply just that, the size, and he's a guy that could play in line. He's going to come in and probably be a better blocker than Dalton Schultz was. Dalton Schultz, for me to sing so many of his praises, he really struggled a lot as a blocker this year.
He did.
But improved as a pass catcher. It was just kind of interesting how that worked.
I think Foots, and it's so funny because you've been pounding the table with Dalton Schultz, and you were right about Dalton Schultz. He developed into a very reliable, solid tight end. But I kind of was joking all year about Schultz, saying, well, Dalton Schultz became tight end one and said blocking is beneath me. I'm joking about it, but I think that's kind of true, right? Like I think Schultz said, listen, man, I'm that dude as a pass catcher right now. I'm your tight end one. My blocking is going to take a hit because I'm trying to get better as a receiving weapon. So I think that's what happened with Dalton Schultz. But I think you're going to have to replace him this year, Foots. I don't think they're going to re-sign him. You think Rucker could be that guy?
I do, man. I do. And I think that Rucker, he'll be there in the third just because he doesn't have the twitch. Now, Greg Dulcich, that's the one.
Well, let's go ahead. Let's talk about Greg Dulcich because boy, you put me on him. I like what I saw from Greg Dulcich.
So Chip Kelly wasn't a great NFL coach, but he designed some stuff for Greg, and Greg flourished, man. Now, if you want a guy, because you like Sean McEwen, correct?
Yes,
Scott?
I like Sean McEwen.
And I think that the Blake Jarwin experiment is done. If you want a dynamic player, second round would be so rich for me, but I would pray that he would be there in the third because I would run to the table for this guy. You're talking about an athlete, man. You've seen this guy. You're talking about a guy who could turn into, dare I say that, Kelsey Mold because he has that type of swagger.
Yeah, boy.
He has swag when he plays, man. I'm sorry.
Man, it's so hard when we throw out these names, but you got to remember the Kelseys, the Kittles. They weren't Kelsey and Kittle coming into the league. They didn't go first round. They weren't top 10 guys. They were second, third, fourth round picks. And Greg Dulcich, I think, has that. Again, y'all, I'm not saying he's Kelsey, but when I watch him, he has this. Kelsey has sneaky athleticism. I hate to say that because that sounds like I'm stereotyping, but he's not Pitts, right? He's not Shannon Sharp. These guys that go up and they just do these crazy things athletically, but they can also go up and get the rock. I look at Greg Dulcich and I'm like, he's making plays downfield a lot. And no offense to Dalton Schultz, I just can't see him making those athletic type plays because that's not in his game. And if you look at, if you want to say production, Dulcich gives you that too. 10 touchdowns over the last 2 years and 1,200 yards. So this is a very sneaky tight end, I think, coming out of this draft.
Man, listen, we gonna start this. We're gonna start this lawnmower early, Scott. Man, you with Dulcich. I'm gonna tell you something, man. After the catch, you've seen it.
Yeah.
After the catch, man, he got juice, and that's the difference. Like, it's not gonna be one of them things where he's just going down on an ankle tackle, on a shoestring tackle. He really has real juice. And again,
Kelsey-esque.
coming from the scheme that he came from, with Chip did some nice things getting him the ball. When you watch, I got to give Chip Kelly, then that UCLA team, they did some nice things scheming him open. And so, it's going to help him. It's going to help him in the draft. I think that he's a great athlete. Again, you're going to watch to see how he stands out at the combine. But, he helped himself this week, caught everything. He helped himself this week. And like you said, Rucker and a couple of other tight ends, there's no real true tight end one this year. And
it's
I don't
a deep
think
class,
because
though.
of how deep. Yes, it is. It's a very deep class. See, receivers, quarterbacks, tackles, corners are going to get pushed up. So if he's sitting there in the third round and you have any doubt and you know Dalton's out, I would take a pick on this guy. I really would. He can really help your offense in a sneaky way. He can.
Yeah, again, I'm not trying to be hyperbole, but I just like what I saw. You obviously like what you saw on film too. Definitely got to give credit to scheming him, and that's one thing that makes me nervous about tight ends or really any damn player on this team is, can our offensive coordinators scheme? Are they going to be featured on this offense, or are they just going to be a product of it? And that's what happened with, in my opinion, Dalton Schultz. I think he was which he should have been. I don't think he's a feature guy. He was just part of the offense as opposed to a feature in the offense. But I think that Dulcich can be a little bit more, or guys like him. I know somebody said Trey McBride. He was another guy I was interested in coming into this. When you did send me the list, I thought you were going to send me a Trey McBride. But I'm with you. I don't know that there's obviously not a Pitts, right? There's no Pitts in this draft. But it feels like there's a deeper class of tight ends that you can get between day 2 and day 3.
Yeah, man. Listen. I feel like this class, man, and to be completely honest, man, this draft class is really throwing a layup to what the Cowboys need. Other teams that need quarterback and all that type of stuff, no, that's not. But this team that we can get, like you said, we got to think we're going to take care of the East because we just are a better organization than those teams in the East. But now, again, you're right, Scott. The offensive coordinator does need to do a better job with having a plan. That's out of our control, But the homework and what we can put out there, because I do believe that, you have guys like, Sky, myself, who
Sky Moore
have the power. No, I'm talking about Sky Walker still, who has the power to put out things that get players drafted and to get the fan base hyped with certain things. So The fact that you do the homework and that you use your platform to do the homework, it helps. The truth is, guys, get excited about these linemen because that's what we need. We need to be better up front. And like you said, tight end, receiver, don't start falling in love with these guys. I know everybody likes Traylon Burks and the whole nine, but it's just not a realistic need. And we already have what we need in-house, and we already have an OC who struggles. Oh, yeah, he's a nice player. But like we said though, Sky, we don't it has to fit what Dallas is trying to do. We already have an OC who has trouble getting our receivers in a groove. So I don't want to start getting cute. Let's really take this draft cycle to get fundamentally better with just grit and the type of players to make what we already did good, get better, and then like a need like guard, just got to address it, man. You have to address it.
Yeah, give me one other player. Have you looked at some of the defensive backs? Just curious. Have you looked at some? I know Roger McCreary is a guy out of Auburn that, done some good things in the practices, but is there a defensive back that you're got your eye on down at the Senior Bowl?
McCreary is actually that guy. That's crazy that you said that. He was one of the guys that I really took a look at. I like the safety. I was looking at one of the safeties, Sky Haley. I was looking at one of the safeties. I forget his name, but I've been so locked in on the trenches, Sky.
I have too. I have too. Trust me, man.
You know what I mean? I hadn't really because, the only way I'm going DB is if I'm hearing that Derek Stingley could fall, and I'm just like, wow. And now if he falls, that's kind of like one of those that I would say, okay.
Yeah, it's tough.
You may have to.
Corner's tough because
you may have to look at that.
You're pretty set technically. Next year, you don't have to draft a corner at all. I mean, you could literally not draft a single corner. But if value falls to you, it'd be tough to pass on like a Stingley, obviously. But maybe I should have said more so safety because right now you don't have the depth at safety. And one of my favorite safeties is he's not even in the Senior Bowl, the Penn State cat, but in regards to
he's nice.
Yeah, that
you're talking about
is it Brisker?
What's my kid's name? Brisker, Jaquan Brisker.
Yeah, I like him because I think he's realistically could be there. My favorite safety is a Notre Dame kid, but Hamilton ain't going to be there. Anyway, is there a safety at the Senior Bowl?
I got a name for you. For you. Yes, I got a name for you. So let's talk Jalen Petrie.
Okay.
He's the one. He's smaller, but he's instinctive. Baylor safety. He's extremely instinctive. He didn't look out of sorts this weekend. So we'll see how it translates to the game. But he moved around well. He covered tight ends when they did the one-on-one. He was in their face. He was jawing. And so he's the one, the Baylor safety, that if you want to talk about a guy that kind of say, okay, he caught my eye, he was the one.
Okay.
But like I said, you know what I'm on, man.
Yeah, I know what type of time you on, brother. I do. But I also know that eventually you'll work your way around each position. And this, again, we're very early in the draft process. It's just Senior Bowl week this week. We'll watch it this weekend, and I definitely want to get you back on next week, Foot, so we can review what we've seen. And maybe we'll do some stock up stuff, man. I think we did that last year. We did stock up, stock down, and that was pretty cool. So we can look at what risers come out of the Senior Bowl. Because, listen, last year I remember because the face was on the thumbnail. Jabril Cox had a standout Senior Bowl, and we talked about his versatility, his ability, and what happens. Dallas Cowboys draft Jabril Cox for exactly that. So best believe Cowboys Nation, there's a future Dallas Cowboy down at that Senior Bowl, and probably 2 or 3 of them.
We nailed this guy, and I think that, like I said, let's jump back on for the recap, and I'll have you. We'll bang that stock up, stock down again, and I'll be honored to come back on and work with my guy Skywalker Steele.
My brother, I appreciate you, Foots. Let them know where they can find your work at, man.
Hey, hit me on Twitter, Foots the King. I've been tweeting a lot of cool stuff out. Hit me also on YouTube, Cowboys Nation. I'll do a review of the game. I did a review of the practices, so you guys go check that out. I'll do a video that's a review of the game, and then I'll jump on with Sky on Monday or whenever he will have me, and we'll get right to it, man. But Sky, you the best doing it. Keep doing what you do, homie.
Thank you, bro. And listen, y'all, if y'all follow him on Twitter, he don't hate Dak Prescott, all right? So don't get on there and get on my man Foots.
Thank you,
appreciate
Sky.
you, bro. Appreciate you. Enjoy your weekend, man. We're gonna we'll probably be rapping during the damn game. So we'll talk this weekend, bro.
Okay, homie. You
all right,
too.
brother. Appreciate you. Peace. That was Foots, the king of Cowboys Nation TV. I told you guys there are a handful of people that I think are worthy of following and listening to in regards to the draft, and Foots is one of them to me. Always been. He's one of them. So check him out, Cowboys Nation TV. We'll bring him back on to talk Senior Bowl next week. With that said, y'all, get a little bit, get some drink, get a water, get some coffee. Gonna take a quick little break. Then we're gonna come back and get into the Freeman Mazda mailbag segment. All right. This video is brought to you by Freeman Mazda of Irving, Texas. If you're searching for a new, used, or Mazda certified pre-owned vehicle in the Dallas-Fort Worth area, why not shop at Freeman Mazda? Freeman Mazda of Irving, Texas has been a family-owned and operated business for over 60 years. They have new inventory arriving daily, especially for the new 2021 and 2022 Mazda CX-5. So stop by Freeman Mazda in Irving, Texas today, or visit freemanmazda.net.
You're listening to A to Z Sports.
Do it live!
At some point, hoping to broadcast
In front of the millions
of Cowboys fans to bring you the real. But for now, strap up and here's your host, Skywalker Steele.
I'm Luke Skywalker. I'm here to rescue you.
We'll do it live.
Do it live. Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. Appreciate y'all joining me and Foots, who just was on speaking his mind on the Cowboys situation with the Senior Bowl. Some guys to watch down there. I promise you, throughout this process, he's going to nail a couple of those guys because he does. That's what he does when it comes to these draft picks. So make sure y'all check him out and us next week. With that said, let's hit the mailbag segment, ladies and gentlemen. One on YouTube yesterday dropped the mailbag question. And we'll start off with G. Warren from YouTube. It says, how would you assess Dak Prescott's performance this year overall? I would say he had a good year overall, but I think it was a tale of two halves. I can say that about the entire team, right? But it was a tale of two halves, right? The first half, I thought he was A+, right? I thought he was obviously in the MVP consideration. But for me, what I wanted to see more of was the finish in the second half, because he finished pretty good in the first half. You know, week 1 got the go-ahead drive against the Bucks, but the defense, and then in week 2 got the go-ahead drive to win the game against the Chargers. Then obviously the big game on the road in Foxborough, the go-ahead game-winning drive. So he was doing the things I came into the season saying, I need to see more of the closer. Second half of the year, a lot of people want to say the injury. I'm still not going to give him that. I say the decision-making was something that I was disappointed in, and the ability to adapt. Obviously, not all of that adapt part is his fault. The coaches have to adapt as well. But if we're just strictly talking about him, his part of that blame of adapting, I'm going to lay some at his feet as well. So I think it was a tale of two halves, G. Warren. I thought overall it was a good year, obviously, especially when you take in the fact that he broke his damn leg 17 different ways last year. I think that kind of gets lost in the shuffle here. And then came into the season not really having practiced much due to the shoulder situation. And so it was things that were just compounding from the injury in 2020. But overall, I thought he had a good year. But going into next year, I want to see his decision-making. It wasn't like he was throwing crazy picks. It was more so the lack of, in regards of firing sometimes or getting away from his reads too quick in the second half. I want to see the decision-making improve. And I still would love to get somebody else up in here to allow him to just rip it. Just let it rip, or a little bit of in his system. So I think overall good, but obviously room for improvement. And at 27-28, that you're still in that massive window of room for improvement. Most quarterbacks are at their peak later on in their careers anyway. But I think the fact that there's still room to grow is actually a good thing with Dak because he's already a good quarterback. The coolest from YouTube says, what type of run scheme would best fit our personnel? We talked a little, just briefly about it with Foots. Me, personally, I've always been a fan of the zone blocking run scheme. Always. It gives your running back multiple gaps to attack. It makes the defense have to choose. It makes the linebackers have to make a decision. And with a guy like Ezekiel Elliott, who for the most part has really good vision, and then a guy like Tony Pollard, who if he sees a lane, an alley, and he sticks that foot in the ground, he could go. So I would love to see a zone blocking scheme back in Dallas. Definitely if you get a guy like a Kenyon Green or Linderbaum. Kennard's a power guy, but regardless, just get a young dude in here. We talked about Zion Johnson. I think Zion Johnson would be phenomenal in a scheme like that. But I've been a huge fan of the Shanahan zone blocking style, the Bill Callahan zone blocking style, and I think that's worked well for decades in the NFL. So that's what I would like to run. That's what I like to run. Damon Davis says, would you like Juju Smith-Schuster at wide receiver? He was at the Star in Frisco the other day, and he said he would like to catch passes from Dak. Not really. I mean, listen, if you get Juju is a talent, right? He's obviously a talent, and he has the ability to play in the slot. So, if he's willing to come here for less than $5 million, you may have an opportunity to do that. But what are the odds of Juju Smith-Schuster wanting to come play here for less than $5 million on a one-year deal? Very slim to none. So in that essence, I don't think it's going to happen. But would I like it? He's a weird dude. Young kid, still, he's a kid. He acts like a kid. I think I could do better. Honestly. And the reason why I actually wanted to put this up here was because there's a possibility that wide receiver becomes a need due to the fact that Amari Cooper could be cut, which is absolutely ridiculous. But if he is cut, now you're looking at wide receiver as a massive need. Even if you do sign Michael Gallup's not probably going to be able to play till mid-September or so. And I hate to say it, I don't like the thought of Michael Gallup and CeeDee Lamb over CeeDee Lamb and Amari Cooper. I don't like that. So Juju Smith-Schuster, I'm a pass on that right now. I'd go back and look at the wide receiver free agents, but why, right? The Cowboys aren't going to sign a guy like that. They're likely what they're likely to do if they get rid of Coop is to bring back your Malik Turners, probably Said, and probably Gallup. That's probably what'll happen. TJ Ellis. Is offensive tackle a high priority in the offseason, given Tyron's injury history and Collins' history of missing games for one season or for one reason or another? Abso-freaking-lutely. Matter of fact, abso-lutely. It's a high priority. We talked about this some weeks ago. Offensive line to me is up there, way up there. Even if you bring back Tyron Smith, I don't think you have the luxury of passing up on a value at 24 if a tackle's there, or in the second round if a tackle is there, because you cannot rely on neither of these guys, Tyron Smith or La'el Collins, honestly. And if you do what I want them to do, which is now you got the offseason to work on this, slide Collins in that guard and you put Still at right tackle, now you need a swing tackle. And your swing tackle will likely be your Tyron replacement too. So I think offensive tackle is a high priority. I know we got Josh Ball in the cuff. I'm not sure, right? Like he didn't play. He didn't play in the preseason. Barely practiced, y'all. So how can I'm not going to lie to kick it. I'm not going to fake the funk. I don't know what Josh Ball has. They barely know what Josh Ball has. So if value falls to you, you take it. And then you live. If Josh Ball comes out and he plays pretty well, he looks like he has some potential, great. Now you got depth again at the tackle position. So it's definitely a high priority to me in the draft. Without a doubt. Which I got to say here in the chat. Okay, we're talking about Amari Cooper. Said, do we remember how sorry the team looked without Coop? That is definitely a part of the conversation. I don't want to use it as a crutch though, because it's completely different circumstances, right? Like Amari Cooper is Amari freaking Cooper. If you could replace an Amari Cooper with a replacement level guy, then I think you'll be fine. If you don't, the circumstances are completely different. Our receivers at that time were Allen Hurns. What was the cat from Buffalo? Forget his name. Cole Beasley, Tavon Austin. Those were our receivers. And I am not advocating for cutting Amari Cooper, but if they do, and you bring back a Michael Gallup and you got a Lamb, you get a good receiver in the draft, you got enough to be fine. But I think Amari Cooper makes you better than fine. And I think that's the problem in Dallas. They look at the situation and say, can we get away with this? We'll be okay. And you'll be okay, but I want to be better than okay. Y'all know me. I want all the talent. I'm greedy in that aspect. Why would I get rid of top tier talent? Just wouldn't do it. I know my guy Fresh said he don't care about losing D-Law and Amari Cooper. Man, I'm sorry, Fresh. I'd be taken back, because I don't know how you go into next year selling to me that you're trying to get better by gutting two of your best players on the football team, and the odds of you replacing them in free agency are very slim to none. You're 9 times out of 10, you're not replacing them in the draft. Like, there's not going to be a guy that's going to come in the draft and be better than DeMarcus Lawrence, right? There's not going to be there's not going to be a guy in the draft that's going to be better than Mark Cooper, right? So it'd be hard for me to take the Cowboys front office seriously. I don't take them seriously now, but it'd be hard to take them seriously telling me, telling you, telling the nation, yeah, we're better for getting rid of Amari Cooper. We're better for getting rid of DeMarcus Lawrence. I'm going to show you. I don't buy it, man. I don't buy it. The defense was rolling without Tank, but the offense can't move the needle without Coop. If you're going to move Micah Parsons, the defensive end, we talked about this before, I'm cool with it. That's a different story. I don't want to do that, though. I want to keep Micah at that role that Micah's in, the linebacker. I think he'd be he's an all-pro linebacker to me. Could be an all-pro defense end either way. But I think you have a guy that you can play with each and every week. But if you said, Sky, we're moving Mike to the defense and that's why we're letting DeMarcus Lawrence walk, then I can't listen. If that's your plan, I understand. But if your plan is not to do that, I have a hard time thinking you're getting better at the position. What's good, Stevie Mac? We got issues? We got issues in there? Call them out. Let me take a look. Lane says, let's not cut corners, keep Coop. Get some gritty O and D linemen and a new run game coordinator. Yeah, Lane, I like that. That's definitely cutting corners, getting rid of those two. And you got an opportunity here. I think Mo wrote an article about this. I think a lot of the nation is starting to peep this, potential of Aaron Rodgers being out of the NFC. Obviously, now Tom Brady's gone. We'll see what happens with Russell Wilson. He could be gone. You have a huge potential to continue to move up in the hierarchy in the NFC. First thing first, though, you got to have a back-to-back good years. Dallas hasn't done that since 06-07. Are we good, Stevie Mac? Just hit me on the phone if there's an issue. I can't see anything right now. But T Mac says, Sky, if you had to pick between Coop and D-Law, who would you take? Man, that's tough. I didn't think about it because I'm bringing both back. But if I had to pick between Coop and D-Law, I'm stumped. You got me stumped, T Mac. Because I like them both a lot. But here's why I'm going to say Coop. The broken foot, the injury situation with DeMarcus Lawrence, will it get better, right? Like, will he break down? Is he going to play 15, 16 games? He was doing that prior to the broken foot. But he seems to be a guy that gets dinged and the foot is an issue. That's twice now. So just because of the fear of potential injury, I'd say Coop. And also because I just think Coop can be, you can move him around and things. I think he can still be the straw that stirs the drink. And if I want to use, we got a spammer. Okay. If I want to use what somebody said in here, we did good without we did good without DeMarcus Lawrence. You're right. We absolutely did good without DeMarcus Lawrence. So, and that's another reason, right? We can move down Micah Parsons if need be. So I would say if I had to pick between the two, I'd rather keep Coop and then go get me a guy like Sky Moore. I don't mean to go into the draft stuff, and I haven't looked at all the receivers just yet, but man, I like this kid, Sky Moore. And I'm not being biased because he, Skywalker. Just seriously, go check out the kid, Sky Moore, man. He is a slot. He's like a black Wes Welker, bro. With some athleticism downfield. He's like a black Wes Welker from 0 to 10 yards, and then he got some ability downfield as well. I lied to you not. He's fun to watch, and he's the type of receiver I think that could help this offense if it's going to remain the way it is in the slot. So, yeah, I would love to get a guy like that in here. Y'all laughing at me. He is. I'm telling you, go check him out, Sky Moore. He has some Wes Welker to him between 0 to 10 yards, but you see a lot of playmaking ability downfield. You could utilize him like a Cole Beasley here if you want to cap him in that manner, but he has the potential to do more than that. They capped Cole, and Cole got mad at that, right? Cole said, yeah, they only wanted me to run routes between 0 and 10 to 15 yards. Well, Cole Beasley, nobody's throwing you a jump ball. You 5 nothing. Nobody's sending you on deep post. You ain't got that kind of speed. You fast, but you ain't Tavon Austin. So they capped Cole, and I thought Cole's role was fine here. But this kid, Sky Moore, man, I don't know what round he's potential to go in, but he's very high among the slot wide receivers. Maybe y'all can give me more names for slot guys, but I try not to get attached to any of these guys anymore. I learned my lesson. I think it was in 2017 with TJ Watt. I got attached. He started falling. I thought for sure we were getting him, and then we know the Taco Charlton situation. From there on, I said, that's it. I get attached to any of these dudes. But Michael Parsons don't count. He's from my hometown. Of course, I was cheering for him to come here. But just trying to look at it objectively, Sky Moore is my favorite right this moment. Stevie Mack, you said Shakir for the slot would be legit due to Salad. Yeah, do me a favor, Stevie. Send me a list of some of these slot guys so I can look some more. Not right here on the chat, but behind the scenes. D-Block says Kellen does not know how to run this high-powered offense. Yeah, he needs to tweak his system. I think it's obvious. He needs to tweak his system. We talked about this ad nauseum. It seems like he's going to be back. I would love to bring in a guy like a Mike Munchak that could help out with this run game, give him an actual run system. I would love if they kind of did something to that offensive staff pecking order, not even pecking order, just the staff in general, to help out the entire offense. But his system definitely needs tweaked. It was obviously been figured out, and Dak couldn't adjust to it on his own. Again, I don't think he's Peyton, so I don't want him doing all the crap that he had to do in the second half of the year because that's not his game. So your job as an OC is to make the game easier, not only for your Q, but for the team, period. And when your wide receiver comes out and says, we have covered 2 beaters, we're just not running them, that's concerning to me. That's concerning to me. But all right, Cowboys Nation, we are going to head up out of here. One more question. He says, Lane says, you see a need for a burner in the offense guy like a Tyreek Hill? Yes. We've been talking about that for years. I know Nick Eatman's been pounding the table for like a decade to get a speedster like that. And then when we finally got one like a Tavon, he barely used him. He got hurt. And yes, speed kills. We watched the team in Oakland use a guy they didn't use all year, Cowboys Nation. They didn't give a damn about no Deshaun Jackson. They said, but you know what? We're going to allow this man to outrun your coverage just for this game. And he literally killed the Cowboys in that game. So, yeah, man, give me a speedster. You have the depth. I'm sorry, you have the holes to do it now. It's not like you got 6 wide receivers on the team right now. Give me a speedster. I'm with it. But with that said, it is Friday. Feel Good Friday. I'm going to press this button. You guys enjoy your weekend. Be safe if you're in the Dallas area with the weather. Be safe if you're in the Northeast with the weather. You enjoy y'all weekend. I appreciate y'all for being here. Make sure y'all check out my guy, Foots the King, on Cowboys Nation TV. Make sure y'all check out AtoZSportsDallas.com. Check out that Mauricio Rodriguez article about kicker thing. I thought it was pretty decent. You guys are awesome, man. Watch the Senior Bowl. We'll be back next week to review it. Love you. Peace.